Okay, so I'm here to make this video to explain to you what happens when Venus goes into the 12th house in your birth chart. So what is Venus? Venus represents women, sex, art, beauty, music, the little romantic encounters and affairs that you have in general. Unless Venus is the ruler of your sign in the 7th house, then it will specifically represent the type of person that you will marry and be in a relationship with in general. But if it's not, then the Venus just can just represent the type of people that you encounter and interact with and engage with, and in general, romantically. Um, the 12th house. The 12th house is a house that typically has a whole lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions, and typically a house that people just mainly point to when it comes to all type of mysticisms and stuff. At least the amateurs, the people who are new to astrology, just give a lot of weight and emphasis, from my perspective, on the 12th house when it comes to damn near every aspect of their life for the most part. And it's just a lot of misunderstandings. But anyway, the 12th house is known as the house of loss. The 12th house represents foreign lands. The 12th house represents isolation and imprisonment. This is a spiritual house. Yeah, the reason that this house represents isolation in foreign lands is because typically, when people get locked up and put in jail, that's when they have a whole lot of time to think and be reflective and stuff, and just get to know themselves better and maybe get in touch with a higher divinity. That's why a lot of people, they come out of prison, come out of jail, and they find God and be a Muslim and stuff. The 12th house can also represent hospitals, because that's also sort of like a temporary form of imprisonment. And when people go, in hospitals, and especially if they're not feeling well and they're close to death, or they got a friend who just got shot or a car accident and in the hospital, what do people do? Most of the time, people pray, please God, please. These people, they never prayed and talked to God so much before in their life until a family member or their ass is in the goddamn hospital bed. So, like I said, when you're in the hospital and you're not in good health, or someone that you love isn't in good health, people tend to typically pray, or when a person has a near-death experience and they was maybe close to death in the hospital and they recover, it could be a life-changing, altering experience. Usually people who maybe had a near-death experience or whatever, they typically tend to not be afraid of dying anymore. So, isolation and the places that can put you in isolation, whether it be beneficial or whatever, can be transformative and get you in touch with higher power. The 12th house can represent rehab, because that is, a rehab facility is like a place of, temporary imprisonment. You're depending on what type of, it could be physical therapy, but I'm mainly referring to like drugs. You get put into a place and they try to, get you healed and off drugs. That can be a transformative experience as you go through the steps in the healing processes. You come out as a new and better person. The 12th house represents foreign lands, because the 3rd house represents short distance travel. The 9th house represents long distance travel. The 9th house is ruled by Jupiter, and the 12th house is also ruled by Jupiter, and it represents foreign lands. So the 12th house could represent, people. It represent a whole nother country, or it could represent an environment that you are not used to, that you're unfamiliar with, that you are uncomfortable with. It's in these unfamiliar, uncomfortable environments. It's in these places of isolation and imprisonment where one tends to become real spiritual, where one tends to find themselves, where one becomes very introspective. That is why the 12th house can be, related and associated with yourself, with your subconscious. That's about it for what the 12th house is. So what happens when you put Venus in this house? When Venus goes into this house, you could attract romantic partners in general who are exotic, who are foreign, who are different. So You could date someone and be attracted to people who are outside of your race. You could attract and date people who have accents and speak different languages, or they can just be something different and out of the ordinary about the people that you attract and date. You would, likely meet most of your partners through traveling, or you would meet most of your partners, most of your partners, they would be, from maybe another state, another country, or something. It could just be this form of travel. And because the 12th house is one of the Moksha houses, because 4, 8, and 12th house is known as Moksha houses. These are sort of like, houses that are really, that wants to get away from the world. They want to get away from the society. They want liberation from the world and stuff. To keep it short and simple, I'll have to make a longer video on that someday. But, the 12th house is also known as a house of secret enemies. So this is sort of like a hidden house, a house of loss, a house of secrecy, a house of hidden stuff. So Venus in the 12th house, most of your romantic encounters and affairs, they could be low-key, they could be hidden, but also with Venus in the 12th house, this can make you someone who is very loving and nurturing and want to share your love with everybody. The 12th house is also like a loss of energy. Planets that, go here in a sense, they sort of are stripped of like they sort of like lose some of their materialistic qualities. So Venus here can make you spend a whole lot of money, waste a whole lot of money. Venus in the 12th house can make you give a whole lot of your love away to people, either, romantically or platonically. You could just be a very loving person and stuff. And this could translate to just you being very sexual and promiscuous. You could attract and date people who are very sexual and promiscuous and are very friendly and stuff. Venus in the 12th house can make you somebody who really has a love for traveling, who really has a love for isolation. You could be someone who really has a love for maybe wanting to donate and give away money maybe to, hospitals, and to maybe do some charitable work. Maybe go to prisons and do some type of work in prisons and whatnot. Venus in the 9th house can make you someone who really loves to learn and study spirituality and all these occult mystical things. But that's just about it for what happens when Venus goes into the 9th house. Hope this gave you great insight and clarity on what happens. When Venus goes into the 12th house. I hope it gave you great insight and clarity, and thank you for watching.